Hi, everybody. Welcome to Food and Bullshit. I'm Alex Fino, your host. This is the unfiltered podcast where we have raw and honest conversation about the restaurant industry without corporate language or HR approved content. Again, this is not branding. It's what really happens behind the pass once the cameras, the Netflix bullshit, and the food porn disappear. Just food, service, and all the bullshit in between. All right, let's fire episode 3. It's a cruel, cruel summer. For those who didn't get the reference, it's a Bananarama song. If you're from my generation, actually, this track might bring back some serious memories. But for everyone else, well, if it doesn't mean shit to you, or if it doesn't ring any bells, well, just consider this 1983 hit the official soundtrack for today's episode. And by the way, I've hidden a lot of hits from the 80s in there, just for fun. Let's see if you can spot them. So here we are again, Miami summer. Let me set the scene for you. It's that lovely 3-month period that always carries the exact same load of bad news. Scorching heat, unbearable sticky humidity, the infamous Miami spice, and of course, the beginning of the hurricane season. Financially speaking, well, this is the most treacherous and the most lethal period of the year for retailers. Unless, of course, if you're selling sandbags, batteries, canned food, and toilet paper. But for hospitality industry, every single year, this 90-day clusterfuck is a pure game of survival. Everybody's under pressure. July is the starting shot. It's the fancy crowd, the big spenders, they completely disappeared. They fled to the Hamptons, to Europe, Nantucket, Caribbean, basically wherever the fuck the happy few migrate when Miami turns into an absolute furnace. So who's left? Who's actually walking to restaurants? Tourists, of course, fellow hospitality workers, and just regular local folks. And because it's way too hot to have dinner outside on the terrace, the reality settles right inside the dining room. Reservations are scarce, revenue shrinks, but the usual suspects, they line up right on schedule. Rent, suppliers, insurance, electricity, all those bills just keep piling up, and so does payroll, naturally. There's still a little thread of hope, though. But that thread is actually getting thinner and thinner every single year. And restaurant owners, they hang onto it like a lifeline. Which brings us to August. That's where it creeps in. Every chef's nightmare. Miami Spice. The city annual culinary celebration. Or as I like to call it, money for nothing. Actually, Miami, it's the time that Miami loves to brag and convince itself that it's one of the top culinary capital in the U.S. Yeah, right. Laughable. But influencers and food bloggers absolutely love it because it finally gives them something to talk about besides themselves. And for once, they actually get to post about talent. Not theirs, huh? I reassure you. They don't have any. But the talent of the actual chef creating those menus. And everyday people enjoy it too, obviously, because it's their one shot to actually get a bite at this completely overpriced Miami dining scene. So naturally, all the restaurants they enlist into this prefix menu merry-go-round. They're just hoping that it fights off the seasonal lethargy, and praying it will bring back enough dough to their flashy marble establishments to pay the real star of the venue, not the food, no, the guy in the booth, the DJ. And trust me, they're not cheap. So on the surface, sure, yeah, it bumps the guest count, but yeah, it looks good on paper. But in reality, it is the coup de grace, as we say in French, on margins that are already microscopic because of the insane inflation of goods. And you just basically cross your fingers and pray that sheer volume will compensate for cheaper menus. So for some spots, it helps. They live to fight another day. But for others, well, it just delays the inevitable. And for some, well, it's the final nail in the coffin, because right after that comes September, the graveyard month. I call it like that not because it's the most quiet, but because when summer ends, it's audit time, and the reserves are totally dried up. But the landlord, well, he still wants his rent. The suppliers, they still wants their checks, and well, payroll. Well, he didn't go away either. So reality finally catches up to everyone, because the guest counts, they aren't magically picking up yet. And let's face it, people have completely different priorities in September. School just started again, and between paying for the fancy summer vacation and buying school supplies, the credit cards, they completely maxed out. So when business fails to return, that's where we count the dead. And that's when you finally see who will survive, or if another one bites the dust. And look, this year, it isn't looking any different from the others. In fact, it looks like it might be even worse, because even though we're early August right now, already the heat is on. We used to see restaurant closed. I mean, this is Miami. This is just the rule of the game. But the 2026, I'm sorry, summer squeeze. It seems like it's coming with a fucking heavy duty sledgehammer. The warning signs showed up way earlier than usual, and now even the big guns are getting jammed. It actually worries me, because it was just the little neighborhood joints that would disappear. Now we're watching massive restaurant groups, the celebrity chefs, restaurants, and big operators backed by millions of dollars struggling to make the math work. And just lately, look at the landmarks in Brickell. Whether Dirty French or Chi, they just closed. Baby Jane couldn't survive another lease negotiation. And in Wynwood, same shit, different toilet. Places like Shizo or even Black Tap, which barely lasted 8 months, by the way, they just shut down. And remember, those are just the high-profile restaurants people are actually talking about. But when the big guys start splitting, you know that the foundation is cracked, because it makes you wonder, what chance did the independent locals ever have? Every single year, it gets harder and harder to open and to operate the neighborhood restaurants. It's harder to keep it alive because of astronomical rents and skyrocketing insurance. And it's impossible to compete with corporate groups buying every square foot on every goddamn block just because they have deep pockets and NPR firms on retainer. So, well, slowly Miami loses another piece of outside identity. Uh, every block, it starts looking like an open air corporate food court. It's different names, it's different logos, but it's the exact same investors, it's the same concepts, and it's the same formulas. So the city gains restaurants, but it loses its character. The thing is, Miami wanted so badly to look like sort of Las Vegas on the beach. The more it's this neon restaurant life glows in the dark, the more it attracts investment. Some kosher, some not so much, but because of the breakneck speed of the city's financial and cultural evolution, we skip Sin City entirely. Right now, we're heading for Dubai, and there's this one question that absolutely nobody wants to ask: do we simply have too many restaurants? Haha. I know. I mean, saying that out loud is sacrilegious in a city completely obsessed with new openings. But fuck it, I'll say it. Of course we do. We have reached complete saturation. Everywhere I look, every single month, there's another steakhouse, another rooftop, another omakase, another Mediterranean concept, another overpriced chef-driven experience. I mean, come on. Apparently, every empty commercial space in this goddamn town is destined to become a restaurant. The problem is the customer pool isn't growing at the same speed. Miami, sure. I mean, Miami's population exploded over the last 5 years, but come on, there are only so many customers to go around, especially in the dead of summer. Marketing has its limits, but the problem is after a certain point, math takes over. And let's talk about something else that nobody mentions because it stains Miami's glamorous, perfect image. Every single restaurant's closure throws dozens of people right back into one of the most volatile job markets of the year. Meanwhile, well, the cost of living here just keeps on climbing and climbing. You know, housing, insurance, groceries, utilities, name it, everything goes up. And the casualties, they are always the same. The staff. The dishwashers, the prep cooks, the bartenders, the hostesses, the line cooks, the servers, the sous chef, the managers. I mean, sure, some of them will eventually find another gig, but it's not going to happen overnight. And meanwhile, the rent doesn't disappear, the key expenses doesn't disappear, the bills certainly doesn't disappear, and yet somehow they remain the completely invisible casualties. There's just something else. What about the chefs and the GMs? Because they're the ones which are a little bit older. And in a city which is completely obsessed with youth and glitz, how the fuck do they go on? I mean, by now, we all know that how business operates in this town. I mean, let's face it, once you hit 45, whether you're front of the house or back of the house, you just don't fit the narrative anymore. Let's say it honestly. I mean, there's always a wave of youngsters knocking at the door willing to work for way cheaper. So basically, you're fucked. And I mean, I'm 54, so I've seen it with my own eyes. Even if nobody wants to say it out loud, Miami is losing its most experienced workforce. So we desperately need to address this because it explains why so many seasoned professionals are leaving Miami for cities that might be less flashy for sure, but are far more secure to make a living or raise a family. And they're leaving because, you know, they just want to be sure they won't get laid off the second that July shows up. Which leads us to the recruitment crisis. That famous labor shortage that is on absolutely everyone's lips in this industry right now. I don't know if you noticed it. But apparently, all the signs points to it. Right? Well, I mean, if you look at the staggering numbers of job postings online, yeah. But if you go a little bit deeper, is there really a shortage? Maybe the problem isn't that people don't want to work in Miami. Maybe the problem is more simple than that. Just people can't afford to work here anymore. Or maybe we're watching something entirely different. Maybe there's maybe there's a very different conversation we need to have. Maybe this shortage isn't a reality, but a well-designed orchestrated smokescreen. The thing is, we'll talk about it next week. Because I think it's just an illusion. All right, I'm done. Thank you for listening. See you next week. Service.